Now I'd like to talk to you guys about blending modes. Now blending modes can be a little bit tricky to get your head around at first. It's another way to look at transparency. Instead of a layer simply being transparent or opaque or some level in between, we have these blending modes that are going to tell the pixels to evaluate the information and behave in somewhat different manners. We can darken, we can lighten, we can add contrast. Now, there's a whole bunch of these blending modes. Let me go ahead and get started here. I'm going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to press Control J while I have the layer selected. Now I have a new layer that's a precise copy of that layer. Let me go ahead and increase the size of my thumbnail so you guys can see a little bit better. Okay. And let's look at the blending modes. Now, there's a whole lot going on here, and that's a little tricky. It can be very tricky. But there are some basics that we can use to help us out in understanding what these do. Now, each of them has very different individual functionality, and I'll let you play with some of them. I'm going to show you some of the ones that I find most useful and that are going to be useful to us as we go through this retouching project. Now, like I said, some of these can be a little bit tricky, and it's some complex math that's going on here. But Photoshop does try to make it easier by grouping things for us. So each one of these lines that you see here delineate a group of blending modes. Now, this is our darkening group, and of course we can easily pick it out because it says darken. Each of these is going to darken the image in one way or another. We also have the lightening group, which has lighten in it, and each of these is going to lighten the image in some way or another. This next group is a little trickier, but really what this comes down to is that this is the contrast group. The objects, or excuse me, the blending modes in this section are going to add contrast to the image. And soft light is one you're going to see me use in one of the videos this week. It's a really great blending mode. Then we have this group right here, which I call the special effects group. And then we also have a color group down here at the bottom. Now, most of what I'm going to be asking you guys to use is going to be multiply, screen, and soft light. They're going to be most handy to us as through the retouching process. And hopefully this is going to give you a foundation, a bit of a basis on how to think of blending modes and how you might be able to use them. Let's go ahead and see what we can do with this one. Here we have an image that is a overexposed image. The image is just simply too bright. We can actually, with blending modes, fairly easily make a quick correction of exposure. I want to darken this image, so I can actually use the multiply blending mode, and you can see when I apply that, it darkens the image significantly. Now we have this lush green grass, maybe a little bit too dark in some areas, but not too bad. The young girl is more appropriately exposed, still pretty bright, but much better. I might choose to actually try to add some more dark value to it just by applying another blending mode. Let me show you a little trick we can use. I'm just going to grab my quick select, and I'm not going to be real careful with this. I'll let you guys play around with this and do things a little bit more deliberately later, but I can actually now duplicate this selection I've made. If I press Control J when I have a selection, it only copies what I had selected. So you can see here I have another layer. It only has the information that was selected. So you could of course fix the edges on that, but you can see it actually, other than the hair, it did a pretty good job of just bringing back the detail. The face is darker, the dress is darker, we just have some weird darkness issues on the hair. So I could do that again. Just, actually I don't like that. Let's do just the white. Let's try just to do the dress again. Oh, come on, cooperate with me here. Ah, there we go, that's not bad. Go back up, duplicate again, and now I've made yet another layer that darkens the dress just a little bit. So really quickly and easily with blending modes, I was able to recover some of the information. And you can see the before and after here. That's pretty dramatic. And the trick I'm using here is that I'm holding Alt while I'm clicking the visibility icon of the background layer, and what that does is that makes all of the other layers invisible and then visible again while I'm holding the Alt key and clicking that. So there's an introduction to blending modes. In the next video I'll show you how you can use some blending modes practically for the retouch project.